Michael McNamara.
Concur, I'd like to join with the previous speakers in again questioning the manner in which this has been put through. I do appreciate bills have to be passed, but you know, we spent so much time on statements and now we've got 2 hours to debate this. I understand that the government need to save money. I understand that the opposition can't put forward an amendment that costs money. We all accept that. You know, it's in the Constitution. No choice but to accept it. What I don't understand is how deleting a provision which prescribes or removes the possibility of building a smaller house, because the money that you're going to get is already set out in the legislation and nobody's looking to tinker with that. But if removing the provision that requires you to build a house of the same size, not get more money, but how that saves the government, how that's going to cost money, and thereby why it was ruled out of order. Because the reality is, all of the homeowners that are here and the homeowners that aren't here have a similar concern. And that is that the money that they're going to get per square metre is not actually going to be covered the cost of their works. So they're going to have to dig into their own money. And that's, some people will have that money, many of them won't. And I know some in my own constituency who are people who've paid back their mortgage, worked all their lives, they're pensioners now. So they're not going to get a mortgage to redo the works. Who's going to give a pensioner a mortgage? That's not how banks operate in this state, Minister. So if they don't get the total cost of what it's going to cost to remedy the damage or rebuild their house, and they're only getting 80% of the cost, if they build a house that's 80% of the size of the previous one, they say, look, I can't afford the house I spent all of my life working towards, but I can afford a slightly smaller house, thanks to the generosity of the minister, the taxpayer, whatever. But this legislation says they can't even do that. So they're going to be caught between a rock and a hard place. Now, myself and Deputy Pringle sought to remove that provision, and it was ruled out of order. Now, you know, we have a right to know why, and they have a right to know why it was adjudicated by somebody that this, and I'd like the Minister to explain how this was going to cost the state more money. No, but you might explain how it would cost the state more money, because it was ruled out on the basis it would cost the state more money. So somebody somewhere thinks this was going to cost the state more money if we stop people building a smaller house with the same amount of money that was being made available to them, but they built a smaller house. Cheaper to heat, of course, maybe more in line with what your government colleagues in the Green Party might advocate. Better insulated house, smaller, cheaper to heat. But that's not allowed under this scheme on the basis that it was going to cost more money. So you might explain not why you ruled it out, because you didn't rule it out, Minister. Nobody's saying you did. I completely accept your bona fides that you didn't rule it out. But somebody somewhere in the apparatus of state, one of the offices around here somewhere thinks, oh, that's going to cost the state more money. So someone put that in their head. And there is an interaction between departments and the Dáil in what's ruled in and what's ruled out with regard to objections. So I want to know how it will cost the state more money if people take the same amount of money and build a smaller house. Because the only way it could cost the state more money is if this is put in to deliberately stop people who don't have the cash on hand themselves to add to the money. That's the only way it's going to cost. And if that is the case, I don't think it is, in fairness to you, Minister. I hope it's not, because it would be indecent if that's the case. I don't think it is. So I want an explanation as to how it's going to cost the state more money. The other thing I heard my constituency colleague, and of course I completely agree with him on the need to pursue those who made and sold these defective concrete blocks for money, large profits, the necessity to pursue them. I have a number of amendments in, they're not going to be reached. Reality is, because we're not so, but we're going to, you see, people talk on both sides of their mouth a lot and increasingly in this Dáil. Because we vote to guillotine a bill, we don't have to vote down amendments that would make it more likely that quarry owners who sold defective concrete blocks might be pursued. But we start to say that, I would have supported that if I had the time, but of course I voted to make sure that I didn't have the time because, you know, I might have fallen out with my government colleagues. That's really talking out of both sides of your mouth. It's disingenuous and it's offensive at this stage. So I'm speaking in favour of this particular amendment if it's being pressed, but I have a lot of reservations about democracy and where it's going if this is how we make bills.